What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Voices from the Mausoleum, and welcome to Two Friends
and a conspiracy theory.
Comparing white and gay.
I expected them to be very different, but they weren't at all.
The curse will be laid upon them.
Yeah, so new intro, new show. Radar and I said something about this in one of the most, I don't know, we've done more recently together than I'm used to. We mentioned recently that we were going to have some more stuff coming up, and this was the thing. Conspiracy
It's
theories.
a big thing too. It's a big one. I feel like this is completely different from the normal stuff you do, and
it is.
Plus, it's on a subject that I feel like everyone's had one of these. You know, everyone's had a conspiracy theory, like, oh, the librarian is specifically making sure I don't check out books. She doesn't like me, or something's wrong with the food in the cafeteria. My boss is out to get me. Like everyone has a conspiracy theory on some level.
Yes. Yeah. And when I was thinking about wanting to do something like this, I had talked to a couple different people, and pretty much everyone unanimously was like, when I mentioned wanting, maybe asking you to do it, was like, oh, he's a great choice for this.
I'm glad it seems like I really love conspiracy theories, I guess.
I think it's just like your general, like how you discuss things and your general interest in things. I think people just assumed that you would be really interested in conspiracy theories.
All right, yeah. Let's talk about aliens for 12 episodes.
Hey, we could do that. I would be so down talking about aliens. Yeah, so this is a new series. It's going to be kind of a limited series with Radar and I discussing conspiracy theories. So we each have 5 that we're going to talk about. And essentially it's going to be a similar format if you're familiar with Beast and Booze, where we sort of teach each other about our chosen conspiracy theory. So I have no idea what Radar is going to talk about today, but whatever it is, I probably don't know very much about it. So he's going to learn me.
And today we're covering probably one of the biggest conspiracy theories, I would say, like if you go through like the oeuvre of conspiracy theories, I'm trying to spice it up. If you go through that, like this is one of the big ones, like towards the top, like, and there's so many different branching theories about what happened in this incident. And if you can see by my shirt, it's a clear hint. Yes, we're talking about the JFK assassination. My shirt has nothing to do with it.
I'm so mad at you. I was like, wait. I'm thinking, I know he talked about some of the ones I'm like, what the hell?
No, my shirt has nothing to do with it.
Brilliant.
Boom. Already expectations out of the water. But so the JFK assassination is so interesting because thousands of people obviously witnessed it.
Yeah.
It was obviously a ground-shaking event. It changed the trajectory of United States history, maybe world history, honestly. But it's so interesting because there's so many different conspiracy theories that came out of it for such a thing that was witnessed by so many people. And there's a lot of different variables that go into it. So here's the second bamboozle. We have to do a bit of history to give you the buildup to what happened, to kind of give you a nice sort of feel for some of the conspiracy theories I want to talk about, because I can't talk about them all. There's
that many.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's a good amount because it's been around for almost 60 years now.
Yeah,
60 years. No, over 60 years. Yeah, sorry, over 60 years. Yeah, 63. But so I'm going to kind of guide you through a little bit of history. It may seem disjointed at first, a few historical events, talk about the assassination itself, and then dive into the actual sort of theories and stuff behind it.
Okay, I'm ready.
So the first thing we got to cover is the Bay of Pigs invasion.
Okay.
Do you have any sort of background context on this, or?
So Angel was a huge history nerd in high school. I even did Civil War reenactments. So yes, I know some history things.
Damn. So basically, here's the brief overview on April 17th, 1961, 1,400 Cuban exiles tried to invade Cuba and oust Fidel Castro with the help of the CIA. And they crapped their pants all over the place. Oh my Lord, it did not go well.
No, not at all. Not at all how it was planned. Yeah.
And basically, the CIA, Fidel Castro came to power, I believe 1959, and the CIA went, well, we don't like him at all. And so they went to Eisenhower, who was president at the time, and said, hey, we want to plan a coup, as the CIA does.
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? Because that's what they just do on the side or something. And Eisenhower gave them the go-ahead, and they started training. JFK comes into office, and they're like, hey, guess what? We're going to kill a world leader. And JFK goes, I don't really necessarily like that idea. And he through the whole process, the CIA was like, well, we're going to do it, you know. And JFK is like, okay, I guess, you know. He was very tepid about the idea, and he basically went, okay, you can do it, but you have to make sure that no one's going to find out that America is behind this. You have to do everything you can to make it look like, you know, just it was rebels who did it.
Yeah, for obvious reasons.
And he's like, if it doesn't happen, I'm bailing, you know. And the CIA continued, of course, to tell him, no, we got this. And as you heard a few minutes ago, they did not have it.
They did not got this. Yeah.
So very quickly, people figured out, wait a minute, America, did you help do this? And of course, the CIA was thrown under the bus, rightfully. But so the CIA and Kennedy did not see eye to eye after that, for obvious reasons. So that's the first little bit of history. The second little bit, and it's so wild that so many of these events happened under Kennedy, but the second one is the Cuban Missile Crisis. Another big one. So basically, overview of it: 13 days in October of 1962. There was this huge standoff between Russian and American ships in the sea in Central America, kind of over nuclear missiles being in Cuba. And the reason that the Russians had brought their nuclear missiles to Cuba was because America had set up nuclear missiles in Turkey, which is really close to Russia. So kind of a fair play. It's but so there was this big standoff, and I don't know if you know this, but there was basically, I can't remember if it was 2 or 3, and with Russian naval ships, you needed 2 or 3 naval officers to give the go-ahead and punch in their keys to basically launch nuclear missiles.
Because it's a multi-step process, right? To be able to,
And they 2/3 had said, let's do it, of a ship. And the last guy went, no, and just didn't do it. He went against orders. They were like, upper command had ordered it. The other 2 went for it, and this guy went, no. And I forget his name. And
I didn't know that.
So we were saved by 1 Russian Navy officer. So the world could have ended. But it led to this big standoff, you know, huge tensions, and it led to backdoor dealing kind of between Nikita Khrushchev and JFK. That was basically like, hey, we'll take our missiles out of Cuba, you take yours out of Turkey. And they did. But what ended up happening was, you know, Khrushchev kind of was seen as weak for that. And soon after he was ousted, you know, and the Ruskies kind of looked like they were weak for backing down, which I feel like that's what they thought. The rest of the world thought, oh, thank God.
Right.
We're not getting blown up.
Exactly.
But yeah, so there's a little bit of context for you. Okay, so now let's talk about JFK's, the lead up to it and his death. So basically the year is 1963, and you know, this is around, it's time to start campaigning for the next election.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on at this point. And JFK doesn't necessarily know if his, we look really fondly at JFK now, because of something we're about to talk about. But I mean, but at the time, it wasn't like set in stone. It wasn't, a certainty, that he was beloved. And there was a chance he might lose in the election. And he basically said, it comes down to, I need to get Florida and I need to get Texas. Those are the big swing states. I have to win those. So he was basically like, I have to go to Texas. That's a big one, because there was also a group of kind of extremists down in Texas who had a bit of sway and could potentially take some of the Democratic vote and sway it somewhere else. So he wanted to make sure he could squash that too. So he flies into Texas. It's light rain, flies into Fort Worth, November 22nd, 1963. His wife is there. He gets off the plane, hody hum. They all have a good time. Then it's off to Dallas. And so basically he goes into Dallas. He's meeting the governor of Texas there. They're in their car. It's him and his wife along with him, and of course the driver. And here we get to the actual meat of the conversation, the assassination. So, there's a huge crowd of people out and about in Dallas, coming to see the president. The car turns off Main Street at Dealey Plaza, which I'm sure if you've heard anything about assassination, you've heard those street names quite often.
Yeah,
about
for sure.
12:30 p.m. And they passed the Texas School Book Depository, and boom, gunfire rains out. Bullets strike Kennedy in the neck, in the head, and he slumps over towards Miss Kennedy, which, what a terrible thing to see. The governor of Texas gets shot in the back, and it exits through like around his hand or something. And basically they speed off towards the closest hospital. Kennedy does not survive. The governor does, which I always forget, because I always think they all died. But the governor of Texas survives. And then less than an hour after, basically Kennedy is pronounced dead and everything, they arrest Lee Harvey Oswald, the assassin, and they take him into custody. And then Sunday morning, November 24th. So this is like the day after it happened.
Right.
He's being transferred from police headquarters to the county jail, and he is executed on live TV by Jack Ruby, he's a local nightclub owner in Dallas, and he just shoots him a couple times, and then he dies 2 hours later at a local hospital. So that is what happened. Yeah, those are the events of the assassination. And what makes this so interesting, so many people witnessed it. Someone caught it on camera too, which is wild. And the last thing I want of note to mention is the Warren Commission, which was an investigation that was basically ordered by Lyndon B. Johnson, he was the vice president of Kennedy, became the president, but he ordered it, and it's named the Warren Commission because the chief justice at the time was Earl Warren, which Earl Warren is one of the best Supreme Court justices we've ever had. Look him up if you got a minute.
Yeah,
viewers,
if you're not familiar. Yeah,
if you're not familiar. But that was ordered. They did a large investigation on it, and they basically came to the conclusion, it was Lee Harvey Oswald. It's just him, and it's just a terrible thing,
Right. That's all she wrote.
Yep, and that's all she wrote. And of course, because it was released by the government and it was an official report, everyone believed it. All right, that's the end of the episode. Oh, wait, they didn't.
We wouldn't even have this series if that's how shit worked.
That's how it worked. And they all believed it. That was it. But the end. Thank you, Warren. No, but a large group of people did not believe the Warren report.
We're not buying it.
They did not buy it. And there's so many different interesting theories to come out of it.
Yeah.
And one of the ones the first one I want to cover is the single bullet theory, aka the magic bullet, as it would later be dubbed. But it was brought up under the Warren Commission.
Okay.
And it was an investigator during that. What is his name? Arlen Specter. He's generally credited as having been the one to come up with the idea of the special bullet. But so he basically because most people only heard 2 to 3 gunshots.
Right.
And that's the consensus, that was 2 to 3 gunshots.
Yeah.
And it's like there's so many wounds. There were so many wounds between Kennedy and the Texas governor that, a lot of people go, well, that can't be right, because there was 7 or 8 wounds, and people are like, well, 7 or 8 holes, that's more than 3. So like to kind of explain it, it was this single bullet theory is that all of the wounds to the Texas governor and one of the fatal wounds to Kennedy were all caused by the same bullet, which sounds wild.
Yeah.
But if it's interesting, and they didn't, if they were trying to dispel some conspiracy theories, they didn't do the best job of it.
Sure.
And I understand why.
Yeah.
People started to call it the magic bullet because how they describe the trajectory of the bullet is, and I don't have a diagram with me, but just flash up. I keep it in my room. But so basically it enters the vehicle, goes through Kennedy, and then I guess they have it ricocheting this way.
Okay.
They have it ricocheting and then somehow ricocheting off something else and then going forward through the Texas governor and then ricocheting off his own hand, through his hand out this way. Yeah. And it's like, what are you people doing, you dinguses? That's clear. Yeah, that's going to be called a magic bullet. But most people nowadays believe what more happened was there was just so much force behind the bullet that it went just straight through, and it eventually got taken off kilter just enough to where it went through the Texas governor because he was hitting the hand too, and it just exited out of his wound and went through his hand too. So more of a sort of,
which makes way more sense. Yeah.
Makes way more sense. But yeah. So already, oops, the report to dispel any, conspiracy theories itself started a conspiracy theory. not off to a great start. But yeah, so that's the theory of the magic bullet, is that just fear, that a bullet just did this. But so the next theory is that there was multiple shooters. And that's a well-known one.
That's one of the ones that I know.
Right.
Probably not in a ton of detail, but just that that was one of the thoughts.
Right. And that's what I'll only talk about briefly because, again, people only heard 2 to 3 gunshots, but because it's such a jarring event, based on the time, again, 7 to 8 bullet wounds, that is far more than 3. So people, speculated that there had to be another shooter. There's no way that this could have happened by just Lee Harvey Oswald. And so there's this prevailing theory that there was someone on the grassy knoll, which was like a little hill off to the side. And it would, honestly, if it's true, that's the perfect sort of angle to maybe get in a few shots. But based on the trajectory of the bullets, it seems like maybe they all came from behind, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, so that's, and so people make up that theory. They also think that there might be 3 people. So 3 gunmen who had a hand in it. Again, this is, another theory. And then there's quite a few involving just people that were there.
Yeah.
There's Umbrella Man is a well-known one. Basically, there's you could see like there's some footage taken by just citizens who were, had cameras at the event and stuff.
Yeah.
And there's a man with an umbrella in, Texas, and it's not raining or anything.
Yeah.
They
and a lot of reference the Umbrella Man stuff comes up in like TV shows and stuff that I've seen. You know what I mean? Where it's like they'll like time travel shows where they like travel back in time, and like there's a specific show, and I'm totally spacing on the name, but there was an episode where they went back to that time frame and they passed him while they're there.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I mean? So like that one is, to your point, that is a really popular one because it shows up in like pop culture stuff. Like
that's pretty wild. There's like, so the big one on him is, and this is, they believe that he was a secret agent for some government agency, and so him opening his umbrella created some kind of poison or carcinogen that was what actually killed Kennedy. The bullets didn't do it. And he just opens it and it sprayed. So
I don't think, I didn't know that one.
Yeah, it's wild. It's a wild one.
Yeah.
There's a few others. I know there's one for Russian lady. Or that's what she does. It's like an old, there's like footage, and it shows like what people assume, because it's footage from 63 on grainy like home cameras, is what seems to be a elderly woman of Russian nationality, because she has like a little, headband around her head and stuff. She's kind of got like what you would think Russian people wear at the time, garb wise. And she's like there in the crowd, and a lot of people say she like has a good angle to see what actually happened. And so they couldn't find her, which, if it was just a regular old lady, she probably went home and cried after witnessing.
Right.
But there are quite a few theories that are like Russian lady had some kind of maybe connection, or she saw what happened, and she could give us more insight into it.
This is what trauma does to people. It certainly is true.
It is wild. But so the last two theories are more just around more in general. They're more like government conspiracies.
Sure, those are the best kind.
Those are the best kind. And so the first one is obviously the Soviet government had a hand in it.
Yes.
Some way or some form. Like either, the big one, they were mad because of the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Right. There's some reasons there. Yeah.
There's some reasons there. And you could see that. And especially since Russia and America were not on great terms for
a
while after
never
then
on
too.
Good terms. Yeah.
Well, I guess never on good terms, unfortunately. No. But a lot of people believe either, they like Lee Harvey Oswald was a KGB operative secretly undercover.
Yeah, I've heard some of that one too. Yeah.
Either that, or they placed someone to help make sure that Oswald could do what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, or again, the multiple shooter angle, one of them was a KGB operative is the other one. And then the last conspiracy theory that I want to touch on, and maybe the one that may have a little credence to it, is that the CIA may have played a part in it.
I buy that one though, honestly. Like, I don't know to what extent, not 100% maybe, but like, I mean, it's, I don't know.
Bay of Pigs invasion, they're not happy with Kennedy.
No.
And the other thing that people like to point out is, this is the CIA's thing. They literally try to get people to kill foreign leaders, like world leaders. They do it all the time. And so a lot of people say just because it was, our own leader, it doesn't mean the CIA wouldn't go through with it. And, that the CIA, the other thing on their mind is that the CIA maybe like Lyndon B. Johnson a little bit more than Kennedy. So they thought if we get rid of Kennedy,
Then
maybe
we
we can have Johnson.
Yeah.
He'll be more open to our ridiculous
Our antics.
our CIA antics.
Yeah.
But I will say I was in Washington, D.C., and this is just an anecdote, but in May of last year with my buddy, just going around seeing all these different monuments and memorials and stuff. And there's so many great ones for the presidents, and a lot of people, JFK is well known as at least top half of the presidency. If not, he's close to the top 10 president wise.
Yeah. Sure.
And
Yeah. High regard.
It's so interesting to watch, the Lincoln Memorial, the Washington Memorial, and JFK has a water polo park. He doesn't have a monument. He doesn't have like a big statue. He's got like what could loosely be called a park, because it's just like maybe 8 to 10 acres of just flat grass.
Okay.
That there's not any like buildings or anything on it. It's just open grass that they've named the water polo park, which I don't understand. And when my buddy and I were walking through it, it was Memorial Day.
Yeah.
And so there was much more traffic than usual. They had to put the outhouses somewhere. And they put them on the JFK Park. Just a huge row of like 30 porta potties. And my friend and I look at each other, and he says, the CIA had a hand in this.
I was just gonna say the same thing. And then meanwhile, the people in the CIA are like,
they're just like, take that.
Well, I think I'm thinking of the right situation. This is also the one too, where like in the clip, don't you see the wife like reach for something? And I remember that being part of something too. Like when it happens, and they're like I don't know if they ever like actually figured out what it was she was grabbing, but they were like, oh, she like grabs his brains and like puts them back. Like I've heard all kinds of things about her, because in the video you do see her reach for something. I don't know what she's doing. Obviously, I wasn't there, but
right.
It's just one of those things where it seems like a very weird thing for her to do in that situation too. So I don't know if that plays into any of the theories, but I know that everyone always thought, like, I've always heard people talk about how fucking weird that was, that she did that. And like, what was I guess being in shock makes you do weird things, but like,
what was she grabbing for? And
what was it that she did that? Like, what was the reason? It just feels weird.
And and a lot of people also bring up that Kennedy, the way his body reacts to the gunshots is a little weird. It's not what maybe you would expect from where they say the bullets come from. And it is parodied to excellence by Seinfeld. There's a great Seinfeld episode where they parody like the magic bullet theory and how the body reacted to stuff. They do it with the magic loogie. Where like Newman and Kramer, they're like, this one guy, this baseball player, we said he sucked at the game, and then he spit a loogie onto us, and then Jerry's like, so a singular loogie traveled off Kramer's temple, up Newman's back, and onto his hand, and he's like, that's a magic loogie. And then he says, there can only be one explanation. There was a second Hawker.
Oh, that's clever. Yeah.
So it's even like this sort of stuff is parodied in like Seinfeld and stuff, because it's just these theories are so prevalent around this. And because it was such, again, a history altering thing, that I think there's going to continue to be conspiracies around this one.
Yeah. And we'll never we'll never 100% know, which is when there's any question or doubt or like no way to get like 100% clear, trustworthy information, that's like a breeding ground for conspiracy theories. That's literally like the setup for everything we're going to talk about in this series because and to your point, there's a Family Guy episode where they parody it with a burger.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like instead of the president, it's like King Whopper or something like that. And when he gets shot, the food comes out the back and his wife, instead of reaching and doing this, reaches and eats it because it's burger.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
What in the world?
Yeah. So
this is I felt like this was a good one to start with though, because again, it's so popular. There's probably 6 dozen theories we did not cover in this video on this because I don't think people want a 4-hour long video of me reading the different conspiracy theories. But I felt like the ones that we covered were kind of like the main bulk ones, the really like impactful ones that circulated around a lot. And there's still a lot of things that are not necessarily answered by the Warren Report and by the government itself. And I think it's mostly because the government just doesn't want to admit we don't know.
Yeah.
And there's
I'm going to look up that Russian woman thing. I'd never heard of that one.
Yeah.
I'm going to look that up.
I will admit it's one of the lesser known ones. So it's not.
I just want to see the clip or whatever they're saying exists of it. Cause I haven't,
Right. And it's been a long time since I've like seen the supposed footage, but I remember it was a long time ago watching it and going like, that's just an old lady.
That happens though with conspiracy theories. Sometimes like there'll be pieces of it where you're like, I buy that. And then there's parts where you're like, who said that? Like who was the first person to be like, who probably pulled this elaborate thing off? That old lady right there. Like
that old lady did it.
And of course we could be wrong. Maybe it was her.
Right. And I think what's so interesting too about the Kennedy assassinations is that it's not like I'm sure there are really wild ones there, but for the most part, the main ones are fairly grounded. They don't feel far-fetched. They don't feel far-fetched, again,
the CIA being involved, KGB, extra shooters, all of that seems super plausible to me.
Yeah, super plausible.
Could be all three. Maybe the CIA and the KGB planned it on the same time and didn't realize it, and that's why there were so many ones the same time.
They ended up taking out each other in the background.
Yeah.
They were all right. All those theories were right. It's just that the KGB and CIA took each other out, and Lee Harvey Oswald just did it on his own.
My God. Yeah. Well, cool. Well, this is gonna be such a wild series. I'm so excited about it.
Oh, yeah. One episode in the bag.
Yeah.
And I don't know because I don't know what Angel's going to do for her next one. And you won't know either. So that's the whole premise is that we just we have our list. Granted, I guess we'll know towards the end of the series what the other person's going to do because we only have
we have each other's full list. We just don't know the order, right? So
but that's a so you won't know either. Just as much as whoever is getting.
Exactly. I like that. I like that idea for a format. I thought that was that was a good idea to do it that way.
Yeah. So prepare to get bamboozled with me next time, y'all. I have no idea what she's going to do.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, that's going to wrap up first episode of Two Friends and a Conspiracy. I'm going to leave in all of the episodes. There will be links to find Radar and his other content, what else he does, his books, everything. As well as by this point, we will have merch live. I hope by the next episode, we should be able to wear it. We should have it by then. But so if you're interested, check that out too. Anyway, that's pretty much all I have for this episode. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We hope you have a good rest of your week. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you in the next one.